All right, my friends, it is Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we are here with RBH Sound, Shane Lee, Zach from Dream Media. This is an unveiling of the Impression Series third generation. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing great.
Yep.
Doing well.
Yep.
Thanks for having us on, Gene. We're excited
Yeah,
to check
you got
these
it.
speakers out.
So Shane and Kenny, you guys have had a history with this nomenclature for this series. The original Impression series was under the EMP moniker when you guys try to branch off to a different company name. And that was an impressive series at the time because it was low budget and the aesthetics on the cabinets were beautiful and they played really loud. My only complaint at the time was the towers. The R55, I think I don't even remember I think it was the R55, they didn't have a lot of deep bass. They had a lot of dynamic capability. They had the MTM. They had a couple of woofers below it. But when you hooked up a couple of subs with that system, it punched way above its weight class. I think they were like at the time $800 a pair, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, you guys came out with a kind of a higher end version of the series. And that went on for a few years. We reviewed those very favorably. And then kind of just fell off the map. And you guys went really upscale with a lot of your CI stuff, as well as the active, like we have here, the SFTR AXs and the SVTRs in my theater room as well. I think our audience has been craving you guys to get back into the high value speaker line, and it looks like that's what you guys are going to be talking about today.
Yeah, for sure. You're right, Gene. It's been somewhat of a progression over the years, and this product that you see in front of you here is really on par with our signature series type products. So as you mentioned, we started off, I think it was 2009 when we first debuted that initial Impression speaker system, and it was really popular. We sold a lot of those, manufactured a lot of them, and it was based on, this will probably jog your memory. You remember this driver here, you know, the 5 1/4 inch with the phase plug, and it has stamp basket, a poly cone, even though it looks a little bit like a fiberglass cone type of weaver mesh. But and then after that, we ended up going to essentially what was our MC product. But now we're basing this product line on this 5 1/4 inch driver, metal cone driver. We'll try and get your stand in the light there.
So is this the first time you guys have had this is a aluminum cone? Is this the first time you've had a 5 1/4 aluminum cone?
No, we have done some 5 1/4 inch aluminum cones before in some other product series, but this is the first one that I would say is really a signature driver in terms of the quality. It has a cast basket, an open basket, motor structure that you can, it's really hard to see most likely here, but it helps to eliminate compression, distortion coming from the driver movement, and the spider being, or the suspension having to move air into an area that it compresses. So everything's open in that regard. We also have the woofer that we're using in our subwoofers based on some similar technology, where we have the open vented basket on the subwoofer driver. And then of course we have the tweeters that
now that 12-inch driver for the sub, is there also a passive radiator in that sub too?
Yeah, there is. There's a passive radiator in the subwoofer. And as you can see there, Kenny's showing it off. So that there's a lot of new technology, relatively new RBH technology in here. Our latest iteration of some of these smaller drivers that we've done specifically for this line of product, with the end goal of coming out with something that will really wow people. You talked about the initial impression tower and how it didn't have a lot of bass. Well, this tower, the 85, has a lot of bass. Even though the 3 dB down point that we rated at is not real low, it's rated at 45 hertz, but it actually maintains that type of just few dB down from that all the way down into the 30s. And so it's especially with room gain, it's really capable, really surprising at how much bass this little tower has.
I think you were saying that the excuse me, it has a pretty large port area, right? For a single 8-inch driver.
It does. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. And the woofer is close to the floor. So what was the reasoning behind putting the woofer, the side firing woofer, close to the floor?
Yeah. So the main reason, well, several reasons, I should say, are first of all, the driver couples at low frequencies best closer to the floor. And the port does too. You can see the port there. Kenny's showing that. So it's like 5.5 by 1.5 inches. It's essentially the same overall area as a 3.5-inch round port. And having the driver down that low allows us also to really make it a taller port because the port runs the back of the speaker, and that means the speaker is tuned lower. It's actually tuned right in the 30 hertz range is where the port tuning is. So it has really good, like I said, usable response right down into the low 30s. And, you know, it's just a different animal in terms of what it will do performance-wise for a small tower speaker. It's really, everybody we've had in here, ourselves included, as we've sort of demoed it, as we've gone through the design iterations of the product, it's like, whoa, those sound way bigger than what they look like. And that's the other advantage of the side firing 8-inch driver is can actually cross the 8-inch driver over a little higher, which allows for more energy in that real critical mid to lower mid-range band of frequencies, where that's where you really start sensing the size of the speaker oftentimes by how much energy and dynamic range it has in those particular frequencies. And so that's what this speaker system does extremely well.
Got a question here from Brandon. Are these cabinets HDF or MDF construction?
Yeah, HDF construction. Yeah. So that's a change from what we've had before. We've had MDF construction. And so the construction is now really, again, on par with our Signature Series products, our mainstream Signature, larger Signature products, I should say.
Now, that 8-inch side firing woofer, is that similar to the 8-inch that's in like the SBTRs?
It's similar, slightly different. It's essentially the same driver that is in our on-wall Signature Series products. So it's again a little more purpose designed as a woofer versus it has a little more extension.
Right.
And there's so you have, like in your speakers, actually same woofer you have right behind you in your speakers, the 8-inch driver that's in those SFTRs that you have. So it's a very capable woofer for sure. And again, all of our drivers, it's all based on the metal cone driver technology that we've done for years and years and years. And has that type of performance characteristic just throughout the entire line.
Right. So the 5 1/4 is pretty much a common driver for the entire series, whether it's the bookshelf, the center channel, or the towers. What about the tweeter? Is it a silk dome? Is it similar to like what you used to use back in the day with the VIFAs, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. In fact, may I'll let Kenny talk about it.
Yeah. So it's
Here, we'll let Kenny hold these up here.
yeah. So it's essentially the same fabric dome tweeter that we're using in our 6-inch series of signature product, and they're just crossed up a little bit higher so we can utilize the bandwidth of the 5 1/4. And really, these speakers are not designed for like a big room, big concert hall. They're more for medium to small size rooms, which is what really differentiates these speakers from our bigger speakers, is just the total output, because 5 1/4 is just a little size limited. But same thing with the AMT tweeter. It's the same AMT tweeter that's in our 6-inch signature series, and really good complement, and they really blend really well with the 5 1/4s at 3,000 hertz.
Yeah.
So you
we
offer
have two
versions?
different versions. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Two different versions of the speaker. One with the fabric dome tweeter and one with the AMT tweeter.
One with the AMT is coming soon. It's not quite yet on the website.
So let's talk about manufacturing. Where are these products being made? Is a common question you often get online about any speaker company.
Right here.
Yeah, right here in terms of the cabinet and the assembly of the speaker. It's all happening right here in our facility in good old Layton, Utah.
That's awesome that you guys are, because you guys back in the day used to make your own cabinets. When I first was introduced to RBH 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. So it's awesome that you're bringing it back in house now and you're doing this again.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to have that type of, control over every aspect of what we're doing. And we're able to, again, do a lot more custom work because of that, which we're doing. In fact, Zach, I think we've a customer of yours. We just had one of those products today that we assembled. That you'll be excited. It's the one that has 4 8-inch mid woofers and then the larger AMT tweeter
as a center.
As the center channel. So anyway, it's a system that one of Zach's customers is buying from him. And maybe that's something we ought to explain a little bit too, Kenny, is just, how these products, are being offered in terms of through the dealers.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys and all your hard work. I'd like all of the viewers to know that we've actually put out on our YouTube channel, if you go to Dream Media Home Theaters YouTube, did a full factory tour to where you can actually see these guys hands-on working on the speakers, engineering the speakers, the full 9 yards. I mean, every step of the way, it's all in-house right there in Utah. And I've never met a better group of guys. I mean, just really down to earth, really care about not only the customers, but the performance of these systems. So when you're building an RBH system, we'd like to consult with you. Dream Media offers free video consultations where we can sit down, assess your room, your budget, and try to maximize the potential of that system.
Absolutely.
I just put a link. I just put a link to your YouTube channel so you guys can check that out.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Gene. Yeah, so I want to learn a little bit more about this impression series. So we have 2 different models within the impression series. Can you guys talk about the difference in the series?
Well, there's technically 3. We got the little bookshelf speaker, which has got a single 5 1/4, and that tweeter. Then we got the MTM and then the tower speaker along with the subwoofer to kind of go along with the system. So
I believe I also saw some on walls, Kenny. Maybe you could talk
Yeah.
about that. One thing I really love about you guys, not only do you have amazing custom solutions, but even just the SKUs that you stock and have readily available are so diverse that we can really customize these packages to pretty much any room. So maybe talk a little bit about the diverse lineup that you have here.
Yeah. So pretty much the only thing that's not in the impression is in-wall. We kind of wanted to keep that exclusive to the SI product and our Visage product. But for like people who want a beautiful system that's not intrusive, the on-wall is a great option. But for the more traditional sense, we got the freestanding speakers, which is kind of, the heritage of the impression line is, they were freestanding only line, but we've kind of expanded it to include on walls and just provide a really, high quality option for anybody that's on a budget.
Yeah. In fact, maybe we ought to just make a plug for Shane Lee here regarding the big brother to the speaker, which he is putting in his system and will be reviewing. So Shane, you've had a chance to at least put them on the wall, we saw. Is that right?
Yes, I did hang them on the wall today, just test out my mount's stability, and they were totally fine. I don't want to give too much away because I got a video coming out like tomorrow, but I have hooked them up.
Oh, come on. Give us a sneak peek. Give us a picture.
You got to hit that bell notification if you want to see it.
But yeah, they so far so good. I mean, they rock so far. So it's a safe bet. I mean, they look very similar to the ones that Kenny just held up there. Just
with
they have
the larger drivers, though.
With the larger drivers, 6.5s. Yeah, instead of the 5.25, and they're the AMT as well, or the smaller tweeter.
Yep.
But yeah, they rock. Yeah. I mean, listen, I know it's kind of hard to tell from your photos online, but I was telling you guys earlier that once I saw it in person, I was like, wow. Especially on my wall, I was kind of blown away by like. Listen, I like cool looking speakers. I don't like ugly looking things. So if I'm going to be staring at these things all the time, I want them to look the part in the room, but then, of course, sound great as well. But, looking cool too. They're pretty badass looking, especially in my theater.
Yeah.
Right now, I got them on stands in the living room. And we've been testing out a lot of Taylor Swift, a lot of Ariana Grande, Beyonce. They rock.
He's a Swiftie. I'm embarrassed for you, Shane.
Well, it's good material to test things out on for sure, because sometimes, and not necessarily any of those recordings. A lot of those recordings are really good, but a lot of pop music is not so well recorded, and so you get an idea of how forgiving a speaker system can be versus unforgiving in terms of the way it sounds, particularly with really bright recordings. But now I know, Shane, the stuff you talked about is really well recorded, and so excited to hear more about it tomorrow. I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, there is some good modern music well recorded that surprised me. I think I threw on Beyonce's Lemonade album because my daughter wanted to hear it, and actually liked about half of it. And the sound quality is really good. A lot of bass. So if you want to really give your speakers a workout, definitely check out some Beyonce.
Yeah.
I did have a question about the what's the dispersion pattern on the AMTs, on the one that I got, the small one.
Yeah. So, well, and I don't want to give away everything that will be happening in the review, but think of it this way. There really is not much difference between the 1-inch dome and the 1 by 1 and just over a 1/4 inch diaphragm of the AMT in terms of dispersion characteristics. The one thing that is quite different is the dynamic range between the two. Now, this tweeter is a fantastic dome tweeter, and that's what we've actually been doing most of our testing on. I'm just finishing up the crossover for the version with the AMT tweeter in it. And so we haven't had much of a listen yet. I've simply been doing measurements. But Boy, this 1-inch dome tweeter, you think of some of the best fabric dome tweeters out there, the VIFA tweeters, now Peerless type product, ScanSpeak, this tweeter is right on par with some of the very best out there. And then the AMT adds a little more extension, a little more dynamic range, just that extra sense of air and detail. And but they're both great products. One is a little more value priced, but it's certainly not really a downgrade in performance.
It's not a slouch.
Necessarily. It's not a slouch by any means. It's really a fantastic tweeter and high frequency sound that matches well with the metal cone, the aluminum mid-range driver. But once you go to the AMT, there's just that a little bit more linearity and that sense of refinement and detail that you pick up with the reference level AMT products that we do. And again, these are all our proprietary drivers that we spec them in terms of production with our manufacturing partner. I do extensive R&D testing. It took us literally a few years doing some of these drivers, the AMT in particular. But we're just really excited. Going back to what you mentioned, Gene, about one of the things that made our initial impression line of products so popular was that they were so affordable and accessible to anyone that just wants to hear really good sound and doesn't want to pay a lot of money or doesn't have that budget, to pay a lot of money, because we certainly have speakers, as you know, that cost a lot of money that sound really great. But I like to think of it as sort of our trickle down, technology aspect of what we're doing. Some of the drivers that are now in these systems and what we're doing as far as design is the latest leading edge stuff that we've been doing. And so it's fun to see this level of performance available in systems at this price point. And maybe that's a good idea to just mention, where that's at.
Yeah. Let's go over the models and the prices.
Yeah. So we'll start with the little guy, the single 5.25 on wall. It is priced at $300 retail. And
is that 300 a pair or 300 each?
300 a piece.
Okay.
And then the bookshelf is $350 a piece. And then the MTM for the on wall is $425. And then the MTM freestanding is $450. And then the towers, they are $11.95 a pair. We only sell those in pairs. And then the subwoofer is $900.
Is there only one model for the towers and one model for the sub and center?
So
Kenny?
one model for the sub. The towers, probably in the next couple weeks, we're going to release the AMT version, and those will be priced at $16.95 a pair. And then I believe the center version with the AMT is going to be $775, and then the bookshelf with the AMT is going to be $550.
Now, one other thing we ought to mention, because we refer to it as a center because it's sitting here horizontal, but really it's an LCR. There is absolutely no reason at all you couldn't be looking at a system like this as your main speakers, left and right, and center potentially, and then couple that with the subwoofer. So in that respect, you actually have even more dynamic range, at least in the mid-range, going that way.
You get increased sensitivity too, right? Like
increased sensitivity, yeah. Exactly. So it's a good thing to point out, just so people are aware that's a pretty killer system as well, for sure.
So we got a comment here that might expand.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just asking, what's that subwoofer go down to, guys?
Yeah, so it is tuned just right below 30 hertz. It reaches, I mean, the official 3 dB down point is 29 hertz. But again, given the nature of what we've done with the passive radiator, it doesn't have a really steep roll off below that. So it has really usable response in room down into the low 20s. So it's pretty shocking what it can do for its size, for sure, in terms of, a relatively low price subwoofer. And it's, of course, a perfect match for the other speakers here. And whether it's being used supplementally, in a system as a stereo system, or you use it in a theater system, it's really, I think, one of the subwoofers we're most excited about right now.
And it's a small footprint. What is it? It's less than a 15-inch cube, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's only 13 and 3/4 wide by 13 3/4 tall, plus the feet, and then I think 15 inches deep. So
Nice.
it's pretty
So you might have
compact.
to expand your product line with one more product someone's mentioning. You're missing an angled elevation speaker.
Just ask for it. We will do it. It's basically going to be the exact same price point as the 51 on wall or the 5iW, and it will basically just cut it for an angled speaker. So it's already available. We just haven't done any marketing on it yet.
We have that same, essentially that same type of speaker. We're already doing in our
With the 6-inch.
with the 6.5-inch, which is the bigger brother to this line, I guess, of products, the Signature Series, 61 series. And so, that is a good point. Whoever brought that up, they're absolutely right. That is coming.
So another question we have here on the tower, since you have the side firing 8, is that a 4-ohm speaker? Should you, when you're matching this with a receiver, should you make sure you have a decent amp section in it to drive them?
The actual impedance is nominal 6-ohm load.
Oh, okay.
I want to say minimum impedance is just right above 5 ohms, if I'm not mistaken. Again, you'll be covering that, I'm sure, Gene and
James Larson,
James. I'm sorry. Well, through Audioholics, I mean, but James is going to have a pair of these for review, and so that'll all be in there. But very easily driven by any modern day receiver that'll drive a 6-ohm load.
Can we just talk about how much value I say HDF adds to speakers, especially at this price point, whereas even some big mainstream, really popular esoteric brands will still use MDF, whereas HDF really helps kill resonance in the speaker cabinet and really makes everything dense and dead inside.
Yeah. You're right. Well, and like I heard what your response was through Kenny Shane when he was talking about, you called it a brick when you
made out of cement.
Yeah. And so it really does help to have cabinet material that's very inert, that isn't prone to vibration and additional coloration of the sound. Because you think about it, you really want all your sound to come directly from, the drivers themselves. But a cabinet is a huge, essentially additional radiating area for sound to come through. And so it's important to have really good damping material in the cabinet. But again, first and foremost, to have an enclosure that's made out of a material that will be acoustically inert and not allow for a bunch of vibration in the cabinet, which ultimately colors the sound. And that's, in my opinion, that's really one of the biggest differences between inexpensive or budget speakers versus truly higher end speakers, is just how the enclosure is built. And again, these are built to the same type of standard that any of our signature series loudspeaker products are built to, in terms of what we do to help minimize those kind of cabinet colorations and make sure they're very acoustically inert.
And I can't reiterate how this always comes up when every time we post a picture of a new speaker from whatever brand. Where's it made? As soon as when it says made in China, people they have all these different reactions, right?
Mhm.
The fact that you're assembling these in the United States and they're at this level of budget there's very few speaker companies doing that today. So I don't think you guys are stating that fact clearly enough on your website. You probably should make that even more clear to people on here as well as your website.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And not that there aren't some, we've had plenty of product that's been made overseas and still have components in the speakers that are made overseas, again, to our specifications. But, there's a real learning curve, and there are relatively few component manufacturers that really do it right, in my opinion, after having spent a lot of time over in Asia many years ago with a lot of R&D that we were doing. It was interesting because there was quite a shift, of course, from components that were being supplied here. We used to have drivers that were made in the Chicago area by Gefco, great drivers when, years and years and years ago. And we ended up doing some of our own designs and transitioning some of that production other places. But even the driver manufacturers that state their drivers are made in the US, which again are very, very few and far between. Most of the components are still coming oftentimes from somewhere else. And eventually that aspect of the product designs, or I should say production, I think will be coming back here more, and potentially even here, who knows, in the future. But we are starting to utilize more sources just in general that are have all of the components, or a majority of them, built in the US, and that we source with those manufacturing partners in some of our higher end products. So it's I think important to mention that we're certainly on that path. And as far as what we do, building the enclosures and the assembly, and of course all the design work happens right here in our facility.
We got a super chat here. Spare change under the couch. Thanks for the amazing content. This is set be a contender in the audio market. Nice.
Hope so.
You know what, guys? I was just looking at the baffles on your speakers, and I don't see any threaded inserts on it. Does that mean that those grills are magnetic?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Looks like it's strong too. I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your grills are you use really high strength neodymium slugs on whether it's these speakers back here or especially the 21-inch. It's a chore to get that grill off the 21.
Yeah.
We didn't want it to vibrate.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of manufacturers are certainly going this direction, or have over the last few years. And there are some people that just will get these speakers and maybe not even put the grill on it. And then there are other people that will want to be, if their kids are around, they're going to want to put it on while the kids are in the room, or maybe, watching movies. And so we realize it's nice to have a grill that will go on and off easily. It'll provide some protection for the drivers. And yet maybe if they want to do more critical listening, because there's no grill that doesn't make any difference. I don't care who it is, or what they manufacture. There will be some difference. We've designed this so it's relatively little difference on versus on and off in terms of the grill. But we've done some things again using radiuses on the baffles and some things that really sort of add to the not only the aesthetic but the performance aspects of the speaker. And we do the same thing with grills. They're not just haphazardly an afterthought or injected molded plastic or something that's going to vibrate. They're also made out of HDF, and we have our grill material itself is extremely acoustically transparent, so relatively minimal effect to the overall sound quality.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I've seen $16,000, $20,000 speakers from big name brands that use these chintzy, flimsy plastic grills.
Yeah, and the problem is that those grill materials literally sympathetically vibrate as the speaker is playing, usually higher levels especially, and so it starts to color the sound that you're getting out of it. So and not that it can't be done well, but it's really hard with those kinds of materials. If you have a material that's prone to vibration and itself, which most plastics are that way, then it makes it a challenge to do it right, for sure.
So we have another question here. First of all, these speakers come in matte black and white, right? Those are the two finish options for these.
Yeah, those are standard.
What's that?
Yeah, those are standard options. We will always, custom color it if you want, but there will be a little surcharge for material and labor. But we're happy to do custom colors for people.
Someone's asking if they get the white, can they get white grills with it?
Yep. They're kind of an off-white. That's just kind of the nature of white grills. They'll never, because you got a black driver behind it, it'll kind of look gray. So as long as we call them gray grills, we're good.
Grayish end of white.
Grayish.
They're still white.
They're still pretty bright, but it's not as white, not as stark white as the cabinet.
And that's no different than anyone else's on the market. Yeah. Everybody's faced with that same dilemma as to a grill that's acoustically transparent is going to be a little bit visually transparent, and so you'll see a little bit of what's behind it in that case. So, but yeah,
you guys can check out what they're talking about on the Dream Media channel. We did a showroom tour where right there in their manufacturing facilities, the guys are actually sitting in their demo theater. They have a full-blown Dolby Atmos home theater, as well as a demo 2-channel space, as well as it kind of just has all of your speaker lineup. So you guys are so custom, and that's really what I love about the brand. You guys, if you're interested in learning more about the RBH lineup, check out just type in Dream Media RBH, and you'll see us walk you through all of the various SKUs. I mean, the in-wall options, the on-wall options, the amount of bookshelves, centers, you have the ability to do phantom center. Just you guys really have options for every single custom scenario, which leads me into a question that I'm sure some customers will be asking our sales representatives. Say they love the response of this speaker and they want something that's going to have the same tonal balance. What would be a good whole house audio speaker, or maybe a Dolby Atmos in-ceiling speaker that they could pair together with these?
That's a good question. I would probably give it to the VM 615. It's a 6-inch metal cone, but it's the architectural speaker, so not quite up to signature levels, but it's still very good, capable aluminum cone driver. So, and
then going back to what we talked about with the potentially the more ceiling type mount or the angled 61 speakers, and of course you can actually ceiling mount these smaller speakers as well. Well, any of them. I don't know that you'd want to ceiling mount something this size, but our on-wall type speakers could also be mounted ceiling wise. But then we do have in-ceiling options, Zach, as you know, in terms of our product line that our dealers can help you with, for sure.
Cool. So when can people hear these speakers at, are you guys debuting these, or are you showing them off at Expona, which I think is,
We will be.
Yep.
it's like a next week, right? Expona.
Yep.
Yep.
They are on their way to Chicago.
Yeah, we'll be playing the 85 Towers there.
Mhm.
And that's what we'll be handing off to James for review after we're done with those. So if you want to hear the very same towers that Audioholics will be reviewing, and you happen to be in the Chicago area, that's next week. What is it?
12th to the 14th.
12th to the 14th, Friday, Saturday,
Friday to
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We'll be out there too as well, guys, and we'll do some coverage for
Yeah.
anybody who can't make it to the show. We'll be sure to give you a quick little demo and our initial thoughts. I can't tell you how excited we are to offer something at this price point. You guys really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's a lot of fun to be back in this segment of the market. It is exciting for sure.
How much do those towers weigh?
36 pounds piece. So
Okay,
not a
so
lot.
they're pretty, they're how tall are they? Like 36, 38, like that? Just trying to get a relative
39, right around there. For those who have been owners of the 641 SE of old, it's the exact same enclosure size.
Oh, okay.
It's really honestly a spiritual successor to the 641.
Yeah.
Which honestly we've compared them side by side, and sad to say, but I love to say it, these are way better.
Well, they should be better,
should.
right?
20 years later,
those
yeah.
are 20-year-old speakers. We've come a long ways in 20 years, even though those were great. Those were reviewed by Stereophile, and they were in there, one of their recommended component section that they had. But these are, certainly an upgrade even from that older signature product that we did a while back.
Sure. Well, I put a preview article up on audioholics.com. If you guys want to look more detailed at this entire line, there's some specs in there. There's a write-up on, the design of these speakers. And on the 18th, I just want to promote our Audioholics turns 25 years old on April 18th. So I'm doing a 2-hour live stream, and it's going to have most of our reviewers. I think, Shane, you're going to be on there too, right? Shane Lee?
2 hours, huh? Oof.
Oh, you have to be there.
Maybe not.
It's going to be long because we're bringing in manufacturers. You guys from RBH are going to be there. Zach from Dream Media is going to be there. We're giving away a bunch of prizes. In fact, let me put down the link. So here's how this is going to work. If you guys register for the prizes that we're giving away, email us if you win from the email address that you registered. That way we could verify you're the right person on YouTube, because we're giving away a bunch of subwoofers. We're giving away a pair of the R5i RBH bookshelf speakers as well.
That's right. Yeah.
And Zach, you're doing some Focal Batiz headphones.
Yep, correct. We're really excited for you guys. 25 years. Wow.
It's crazy.
Just what an accomplishment.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that's how, before I don't even know if I started Audioholics when I met you, Shane. Shane from RBH. I think I was just getting ready to start Audioholics.
Well, what it was is I remember the call where you called me and you're like, I don't know how I can do what did you call it back? Was it a blog back then? I don't even know what it was called back then.
Yeah.
Having to do with audio stuff. And I remember that conversation where it's like, well, Gene, you should just do it full time. You've got the talent, skills, the ear, everything. And you took a real leap of faith at that point in time. And so again, I congratulate you on everything you've accomplished in the last 25 years and certainly the relationship we've had together with you. It's been wonderful and consider you a great friend. And I like the fact that you're honest, not only with everybody else, but with me. If there's something you don't like, I always hear it from Gene. If he doesn't like something, if we've done it, he's not afraid to give us that kind of, critical feedback. and that's why you do beta testing for a number of other manufacturers,
Yeah.
and because you just you do it right, and you're detail oriented, and you have the engineering prowess and skills to to really go through a product and point out its if it has any flaws and or its strengths. And so, yeah, it's a really unique thing that you're doing, even by any standard today. And I think a lot of people look at what you have done as sort of the standard for that. And Shane is doing a lot of that now too, in terms of what he's doing on his website. And so I think you inspired a lot, taken the industry and maybe moved it up a level over those 25 years of what we expect from a company that reviews these types of products.
Well, we try to keep it real. We keep the snake oil to a minimum, and we surround ourselves with very talented writers and content creators too, right? That's why we've got, James Larson doing the loudspeaker reviews. We've got Wade Robson doing editorial stuff. We got Shane Lee doing videos, because Shane Lee's video production, he's a smooth operator, man. He should be an ASMR dude or something, because I watched him do a video review of comparing Chick-fil-A versus Wendy's sandwiches, and I was ready to go get some fast food. Back in the day, man. That's when I first saw some of your content.
Especially with that microphone. Oh yeah.
Well, guys, I'm excited about this new line of product for you, Shane, because, the criticism I've been hearing every time we cover a product for you, they're like, well, what can we get that we could afford? Well, here you go. These prices, I hate to be like, I don't want to like rip off Crazy Eddie, but these prices are insane. Like, this is some really high value product that you guys are launching to the industry, manufactured in the US. The fact that you have 2 finish options, and you can even do some customizations on that for an additional fee. And then you have upgrade pads if you want to go to the AMT tweeter route. That's really cool that you're building a brand of a series of affordable speakers that are customizable.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap. Zach, I hope you guys and RBH have a great time at Expona next week. Please definitely give us some info, give us some feedback on that. I can't wait to hear about the results on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. I hope to see some of you guys out there. It's always fun meeting our subscribers.
Awesome, guys. Well, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. Don't forget about Shane Lee's Patreon channel. He needs it. He just moved into a house, and he's doing a kick-ass home theater in his house. So he's spending all his money right now revamping that room to get it ready. And I'm looking forward to seeing that video drop tomorrow, Shane.
It's coming. Guys, don't forget, that's patreon.com/Shane Lee for extra content and coverage. That's patreon.com/Shane Lee.
All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap. And until next time, my friends,